Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Commissioner Corner podcast. I am, as always, Lip. I'm here with a special guest tonight. Bomber's feeling a little under the weather, so we got a face that you probably recognize quite a bit from around the MBL network, and that is
Fatty's here.
Network Director himself, OSU. How you doing tonight?
I am good. Look, I'm telling you, it's kind of scary here on the network. I was on Blitz. I'm now on CC. You're going to be seeing way too much of me.
Well, that's a good thing because we like you. I mean, so,
thanks,
as we move around from show to as you move around from show to show, it's always good to have you on, and we'll get Bomber back on here in 2 weeks, and then things will be back to normal. But we've got a good show tonight. I'm excited, OSU, because we've got a couple topics that I want you to talk about specifically because they kind of happened more recently. Last night's NBL Live with the Jaguars and Jets. I want you to make some comments on that as we talk about Matt Forte and his ability to continue grinding and picking up yards after the age of 30. You're going to hear him talk about that too tonight. But as for now, we're gonna go around and talk about what's going around the league. So I do believe tomorrow is Building the Franchise Detroit Lions is going to be coming out. That's a show that everybody likes. I think over 300 views last episode. That's a really great show for the network, and I do believe it's coming out tomorrow night. Is that correct, OSU?
Yeah. BTF Detroit Lions coming out tomorrow night. It usually drops sometime in the evening. Really, this has been when Bomber brought it up to me at the end of the cycle last year. I say last year at the end of the cycle. I go by Madden years.
Yes, that is the only way to do it.
Yeah, I don't even understand the regular calendar anymore. But when he brought it up to me about doing BTF, I mean, I knew that Unisolated would put on a good show. He always has done it. And when Bomber said it, I went, I'm interested to see sort of what his own spin on it. And I thought it was going to be good. It's really been above and beyond what I could have imagined it to be. It really is a great show. If you haven't checked it out, seriously, go over to the network. It's under the BTF playlist. And I think the most interesting part for me, Lip, is, you know, in past cycles, this would be sort of a ho-hum show of, yep, we won again, but Bombers actually faced some tough decisions. There's been a little bit of adversity, and it's been really interesting to see how the Detroit Lions have handled that going forward. His insight on the team is great. It really is just a great show all around.
Yeah, there has been a lot of times where there's guys who, you know, he thought that could produce, but some things are happening and he's got to make some changes, and that's really cool to follow along with because of the position of his team from the start of this Madden to kind of where he's taken. It's cool to go along for that ride. So moving on, OSU, I think that this is a good opportunity. I think there's a new show coming out soon, isn't there?
Yeah, we got a new show coming out. You've heard some rumblings of it. We posted some cryptic things on Twitter, but it's actually coming out. It is called Highly Debatable, hosted by myself and the bald to my full head of hair, Sonny. I know he loves when we bring it up. It's great. No, but I'm super excited for this show. For a couple reasons. First of all, this is going to be our first fully video show. We're going to have both live cameras running. Myself and Sonny will both have webcams running. So that'll be sort of interesting because it just brings a new dimension. And plus, it's going to be a debate show. And the tagline we're sort of using is no topic off limits because I truly believe there's not going to be anything off limits. We'll talk about anything from teams and players in the NBL to ownership to the Madden game itself. I mean, we're bringing a wide range of topics to the show. It's going to be loud. It's going to be controversial. It's going to be a little new twist on what we've got going on in the network. We're going to be recording that unless Kyle hoses us with graphics tomorrow, and that'll be coming out this week. And it's going to have a little bit of audience interaction. There's a talk of we may start doing it live if we can get it to work, but the first couple will be recorded and people can vote on who they think wins each debate, and it should be fun to hear what people say about our opinions, and I can say already that it is for sure a top 5 show.
A top 5 show?
Yeah, top 5
which
show.
We know Star is not a top 5 player if you were looking for some kind of point of reference.
No, he's not.
So that will guide you moving forward on what is top 5 and what is not. So now we're going to get into the main portion of the show, and I am so excited about this because watching MBL live last night was so much fun. listening to you and Sonny's opinions on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Right now we're going to talk about Matt Forte and his ability to continue grinding and be an absolute dominant workhorse for the New York Jets. Now, get this, 10 years ago, this guy, Matt Forte, comes out of Tulane. You know, he's a longtime Bear, goes to the Jets, and he is rattling off one of the best seasons that we have seen from a running back so far this cycle, and he's doing such a phenomenal job. At the time of our graphics, he had just over 100 carries for 600 yards and 6 touchdowns, and that is pretty impressive for a 32-year-old running back. Since then, with that huge NBL Live game last night, 21 carries, 145 yards, and a single touchdown for him. He is really showing that it does not matter how old you are. As long as you develop your game mentally, you can keep on grinding and be a star back in this league.
Yeah, I think the most interesting part about Matt Forte, beyond his age, is the fact that, you know, we see players move around in the NBL, go to different teams and have big years. But Matt Forte was on this New York Jets team last year. He had 118 carries for 372 yards, averaging only 3.2 a carry and 6 touchdowns in limited action all last year. And now in the same amount of carries, he has 2.5 times the yards. He's averaging double the amount per carry. He has 1 more touchdown than he did all of last year, and we're only in week 7. I mean, the question I have for you, Lip, is where is this guy's ceiling? He looked so impressive on NBL Live last night, not just with the speed that I didn't think he had, but his ability to get out of tackles. I mean, are we looking at a guy that could be pushing for a 2,000-yard season at this point?
2,000 yards is quite the achievement. We know only a few backs have ever done that. But the thing that you bring up is, you know, looking at his stats last year, 372 yards, only 6 touchdowns. A lot of people at 31 years old would have said he's done. And a lot of people may have expected the Jets to cut him, but they didn't. And it was interesting because whenever he was asked about his thoughts and feelings about being an older running back in the league, he had some interesting things to say. And we have a clip of an audio clip of Matt Forte talking about that. Delvar's going to get up here for us in a second. But he really does believe that he can do this and is doing such a good job at it right now.
Yeah, I mean, I will be that player. And, you know, I take care of my body very well. You know, everybody, all the media always say all this stuff about running backs who are 29 on the edge of 30 and all this stuff. And so, you know, I'm going to be that player that, you know, obviously, you know, does the opposite of what the cliche saying is about the running backs who get to 30. You know, they always talk about the ones who fell off, but they don't really talk about the ones that, you know, went on to play beyond 30, like Marcus Allen and Marshall Faulk, all the great ones that went on beyond 30 years old.
And there you have it. You have Matt Forte, and he brings up an interesting point that we don't really touch on the people who have been successful over a certain age that you expect people of certain positions to fall off at. He's right. We don't usually talk about those guys. We always talk about the guys that fall off at a certain age, and that's an interesting point to talk about because he is at that age, and like I said last year, people may have expected him to be cut, and that's something that just never happened, and now he's back to life, full-fledged going at it. And it's just been extremely impressive to watch. What do you think about that, OSU? Do you think that Matt Forte is going to be able to drive the Jets to a possible playoff position? If not, maybe even in contention for the AFC East running down the season?
Nope.
Short answer is no.
No, here's the short answer. I mean, and it is with full respect because I am thoroughly impressed by what the New York Jets have been able to do, and I'm thoroughly impressed with what Matt Forte has been able to do. But here's the thing I've learned in my, oh my Lord, it's season 27. In my 10 years here in the NBL, 10 seasons, fast. Which is crazy, is that a team that is dominated by one player, it is tough to continue that dominance as you get to the playoffs, as you get to big games with well-rounded teams. The one thing that's working for the Jets is I don't think the AFC East is very strong. I do think the New England Patriots are playing below where they should be playing, so I think they have a chance to win it. I think the Bills are actually a pretty good team. But the fact that this team they have the third worst passing attack. They're averaging under 100 yards a game through the air. They're averaging 121 on the ground, which is good for third in the NBL. When you have that little bit of a passing attack, eventually, if teams are smart, they're going to load up the box and force Matt Murkazowski, or however you want to say his name, they're going to force him to beat you. And at the end of the day, I don't think the Jets have the talent in the passing game. I think they're close, but I don't think they have the talent in the passing game to be able to do that against the better teams in the NBL. That's why I think the Jets are going to fall off, much like, not to bring him up for the second time already in this podcast, much like the Cleveland Browns fell apart in the playoffs. They were 100% dependent on Isaiah Crowell and 100% dependent on that running game, and a team shuts them down. What team was that, and how'd that go for them when they had to throw the ball?
Yeah, that's a very good point. Whenever you look at it, a defense would only have to shut down Matt Forte and put the pressure on. I'm going to insert what you said for the quarterback's name. Put the pressure on that guy, and it's really it's going to leave them with a lot of troubles. But you look at the AFC East, the Bills are 4-3, the Jets are 4-3, and the Patriots are 4-3. Miami's trailing behind at 1-5, but there's three teams: the Bills,
it's a better
Jets,
1-5 team though than I think that the record shows. That team plays every game tough.
Oh yeah, and I think that the thing is that those other three teams are all in a position that they would all three kind of have to collapse. It's not like two of them are in the tank along with the Dolphins right now for the Dolphins to make a comeback. But all three of the Bills, Jets, Patriots are in a good position to make a run at the AFC East. But like you said, you shut down Matt Forte, that might be the end of the Jets. And we've talked about the Jets being on NBL Live last night. We're going to transition into a big injury for the Jacksonville Jaguars here. Alan Hurns most recently went down with a fractured hip. That's not an injury that you can come back from in a quick amount of time. I do believe he's out for somewhere between 18 and 20 weeks. That's a long time to be out. And I know that we've only seen him for one game, and it was last night, which is why I kind of want you to comment on what you saw and kind of break down Daniel Shirley a little bit. What does it mean to not have Alan Hurns? You still have Allen Robinson out there, but when you don't have that number two, what does that what impact does that make whenever you take away the number two receiver and you throw in rookie quarterback Daniel Shirley?
Well, let's start with, and to touch back on the New York Jets just for a second, let's start with this injury. This is why it sort of scares me about the Jets, is one injury to Matt Forte and what happens to the Jets. I mean, we've seen injuries happen in this cycle. Has been unbelievable. So you get one injury to Matt Forte and some of those Jets are in big trouble. What does it mean for a good team losing your number two wide receiver? It's a big deal, mostly because having that set number two wide receiver takes pressure off your number one. It allows the number two wide receiver to, in general, have the second best corner on them, to, in general, get a little less attention. And I don't want to say it makes them a secret weapon, but it does make them a little less of a giant traffic cone to focus on. Now, at the end of the day, for the Jacksonville Jaguars, doesn't matter, not one little bit. And if I'm Alan Hurns, I'm thinking this is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me, because I don't have to try to find the ball whenever Daniel Shirley throws it. That was one of the worst performances I've seen on NBL Live, and I was on the call for that Cleveland Browns debacle. That's 3 times in this podcast I've already brought up the Browns.
Got him
again.
3P.
Hashtag love you, star. But that was bad, and it wasn't like Daniel Shirley has all the talent to be good, but we've seen it with quarterback after quarterback in the NBL. It doesn't matter how good you are. If you have the quarterback vision of Stevie Wonder, it doesn't matter who your wide receivers are. I can put out great wide receivers all over the place in the Jacksonville Jaguars, but if Daniel Shirley throws it to the other team, it doesn't matter how good your receivers are.
Yeah, and that's exactly how Daniel Shirley played last night. And I want to be able to say that missing Alan Hurns had something to do with it, but I just don't think the kid's ready. I don't think the team has the offensive game plan that puts them in a position to win. You look at Hurns, 9 catches. He had 1 touchdown in those 9 catches, 183 yards. So he was on a good pace before that, season-ending injury of the fractured hip. And that's really, like you said, going to put a lot of pressure on Shirley moving forward. So
Well, and we have seen quarterbacks recover from things like this. One game does not make a quarterback. This Jaguars team did come off of a nice win, the week beforehand. There is talent on this team, and I will say I think it was a major mistake by the coaching staff to bring him in and make him throw so much, because at the end of the day, you have Leonard Fournette. That offensive line didn't help him at all. Fournette put the ball on the ground 3 times. I mean, Shirley wasn't getting any help. But at the end of the day, you have to find a way to throw it to your own team as opposed to the other one.
And it's very tough. You talk about giving no help out there. Leonard Fournette's only at 82 carries for 256 yards. They're 7 games into the season. That does not look good for a running back who missed all of last year with an injury. These injuries are kind of hurting the Jacksonville Jaguars, but I totally agree. I don't think that Shirley was ready. Such a big moment on NBL Live to make that statement. If it works out, oh, it's so nice. You know, this guy can shine, but in that situation, the way it played out, it just did not happen. So now that we're talking about big moments, we're going to move into a big contract, and that's going to come out of the Carolina Panthers, and we're talking about outside linebacker Shaq Thompson. This is a mega deal, OSU.
Yeah. And
it's a big deal because you're going to have to carry this contract for, I believe, 7 years. That's a long time, especially, you know, I think that they've got a good plan with maybe a cheap quarterback in there somewhere. But if you're going to have to pay a quarterback, this is going to limit what you can do with Shaq Thompson. And it is just a ridiculous contract for this guy's output, in my opinion. You look at his stats last year. He only had 23 tackles and only 4 sacks. He didn't make any plays that were so significant that it you know, I would say I need to pay this guy this money. And now you can say that's just last year. Maybe it was a bad year, maybe something this or that. But the Panthers actually had a decent year. But now they're kind of struggling, and Shaq Thompson only has 10 tackles, no sacks, no forced fumbles, no interceptions. So I want to know what they saw in this guy that they made such a big move to pay this guy $83 million over the course of 7 years.
Well, I think the answer is, and this is the tough part. I mean, I don't want to give credit, but this is the tough part about being an owner in the NBL is you got a guy like Shaq Thompson who is young. I think there's no doubt that he is talented. I think you get into the question of, I mean, you're sort of in a weird situation where if you let Shaq Thompson go, all right, who are you replacing him with? I mean, it's the question every time a quarterback's contract comes up. All right, let's say that, let's just say, for instance, Matt Stafford's contract comes up in Detroit, and they decided to let Matt Stafford go. Okay, cool. But then the next guy that comes after him, they have to perform better than Matt Stafford would have if the fans and the entire community is not going to be on him going, why'd you let him go? And that's where you get with Shaq Thompson is that he is talented. Is he deserving of that big of a contract? No. I think 7 years is a big contract for anyone. But at his age, I think it makes a little more sense. My bigger concern is that 29.6 guaranteed bonus that is
huge.
It's so tough. It gives you so little flexibility as you get into year 5, 6, and 7. If I had one advice for any owner in the NBL, watch your bonuses because, I mean, how much cap penalty are you going to have to take? I mean, you're going to have him for all 7 years, and let's say that he doesn't perform to where we think he should. I mean, then you've just got dead weight on the roster.
Yeah, and that's a huge thing because you're going to have to carry that for, like you said, there's that critical point where you don't know where the rest of your team is going to be in year 4 and 5 of that contract. Thompson's only 24 years old, so over the length of that contract, he's not going to, you know, fall apart or anything, but it just doesn't seem to me that, looking at his stats last year, that he deserved that amount of money. And now the even worse part of it is that he's only got 10 tackles to his name this year. Halfway through the season, that's all he's got. He doesn't have any turnovers or any sacks, and that's just really deflating whenever he comes off you know, the team is coming off a decent year, and they're looking to build, and he's just falling flat. It just doesn't make any sense.
This Panthers team is a mess defensively, and by coming off a decent year, I mean, let's be clear. And we've talked about it on NBL Live, Lip. This was a team that, 9 weeks into the season, we were wondering if this was the best team in the NBL. That's how good they were. and then they fall flat. I mean, the last half of the season and the playoffs, they were bad. They come into this year, and their offense has been good, but not good enough because that defense it's the worst passing defense in the league. They're pretty good against the run, and I think maybe that's where you get this contract, is that they're number 6 or they're number 9 in the NBL against the run. But at the end of the day, this defense is so bad, I don't know what this does for the team other than give you yet another contract on that defense that you're not going to be able to get rid of.
Yeah, and I think that the best outlook that you could put on this is that maybe Shaq Thompson is a piece of an eventual plan. You know, you've got Kuechly, you've got Thompson now, you've got Kawan Short at pass rusher, some other guys. Maybe when you build the back end up, this will make it all come together. Maybe this is just a piece of the puzzle and we are jumping to a conclusion too soon. But right now I just don't see it, and that's going to be where I sit with this Carolina Panthers team, and the way that they've played this season has been absolutely terrible. And I don't know if there's any way that they're going to be able to come back from this at this point in the season, halfway down. So we're done with Shaq Thompson. We're moving on.
Unlike the Panthers, we're done with Shaq Thompson.
Yes, we are done with Shaq Thompson.
Although I will say the greatest comment I've seen in the chat so far is we've got a newcomer in Carl Prince, which big shout out to Carl Prince for joining us. Clearly not overly familiar with what goes on in the NBL, didn't know what the grid was. But our very own Hop posted in the chat, I broke TFA, and Carl Prince came back with what TFA, which is just amazing on every level. So shout out to you, Carl Prince, and shout out to Broken TFA.
That's that is true though.
It's amazing.
Hop did break TFA, and TFA is so broken he's barely making appearances except for whenever specific TFA words are mentioned in our chat. But
can't say that on the podcast.
Speaking of a fella named Hop, we're gonna bring him on for our Commissioner Corner game show 3 and Out.
Ruh-roh.
And these questions are tough. Hop, are you with us? Do I have to bring Hop in?
Yeah, what's going on, guys?
Hop is in the building.
I have heard rumors around the NBL that Hop has been calling himself Bomber's replacement. And I don't know if those are true, but I have to say that is blasphemous. We love Bomber and his swollen face, and we would love to have him back on the network whenever he gets better from whatever, I assume, STD he contracted.
That's your words, not mine.
Yeah, I'm gonna separate myself from those statements. But I would say that about Hop, because I feel like Hop has some of those issues going on.
What, STDs?
Yes.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
And if he doesn't, he's gonna have problems.
They have medicine for that.
After he goes through these 3 and Out questions.
Yeah, it's not gonna be pretty, man.
It's not.
Wow.
Stretch out.
Are you all right, Hop?
That was just terrible. That was an awful comment.
Yeah, it was what it was.
I'm not looking forward to these questions.
We don't mess around on 3 and Out, okay? We don't mess around. Come here, put your big boy pants on, and get ready to play.
Let's get to it.
3 and Out. One bite, everybody knows the rules. I stole that from somewhere that I really like watching videos about pizza. I hope I know.
I can go for some pizza right
now. Delvar, can you throw up the? Oh, there they are. I see them on the screen.
Look at that. The executive producer knows how to.
He knows his stuff. All right. So Hop, have you watched the show? Are you familiar?
I have.
Well, then you should know the rules. Hop, I'm going to give you a question with 3 multiple choice answers. You're going to have to give an answer within 5 seconds. Oh yeah, we moved it to 3 seconds. I forgot.
Ah, bless.
We made it harder because people were looking up. Sonny Weaver came on here and was going to try to Google our answers. We're not allowing that anymore. So in 3 seconds, and you're going to have to give me an answer. If you do not know that answer, you've got 3 lifelines, and boy, they are beautiful. You got a 50-50 option, which I will eliminate 1 answer. You can choose between the remaining 2, a 50-50. You can ask the network or the chat here for the Commissioner Corner on YouTube. You can ask the chat. They'll give you an answer. You have to lock in one of those answers. Or the dreaded Ask Delvar. You can ask Delvar. Usually,
is that even a lifeline?
Oh no, we've declared it. It's a death line. It is.
He's gonna get it right today.
That is literally the equivalent of pushing somebody out of an airplane with a backpack instead of a parachute.
Yes. Typically, we've seen people They will ask Delvar A or B, and if Delvar says A, they will say
They
B.
go B.
And
It's a smart choice.
got, you know, it works out a lot better for them. So that's basically it. Any time that you do not answer within 3 seconds, it will be automatically counted wrong. We're going to ask you 20 questions if you can get that far. And we're just going to get right into it. Hop, I want to know, are you ready?
I am. I have one request, though.
Uh-oh.
Can OSU run the stopwatch? Because after that loss to Ohio State, I don't trust your judgment.
I would like to point out, I was not the person who brought it up. I wasn't saying anything because I'm a respectful human being. And Hop, your timer just went down to 2 seconds.
So be it.
I think Lip left.
Did I break him as well?
Am I still here?
I think you were. I thought you stormed out the door.
Oh, no. I'll never leave after anything Hop says. Hey,
That's fair.
We've got our leaderboard up here. OSU, NBL Network Director.
Yeah!
Coming in strong at 12.
Yeah,
sitting in
boy.
first place. We got Kyle, who creates a lot of graphics for the NBL Network, sitting at 9. And then we got our man Chunky. Everybody loves some Chunky. Helps me out a lot with complaints. Sitting at 7 in third place. We're going to have 2 more of these, which is the one tonight. And then somebody's going to be sitting in 5th place. The top 2 are going to move on, and they're going to compete, and then the winner of that's going to come and face me. I'm not going to know the questions. You're not going to know the questions, and we're going to face off. And if you beat me, you get to live on in NBL history. And there's going to be a prize. We still haven't decided on that.
History.
But let's get this show on the road. OSU, would you like to run the 3-second stopwatch?
Yeah, I got
for
you,
me?
big dog.
As soon as that hits 3, you shout out Ant or something. Let him know that he's out. 3 strikes, you're out. Get ready for the baseball game tonight. All right, Hop. This is our 3-and-out game show. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Question number 1. What was the NBL Live Game of the Year for Season 26? Was it Redskins versus Patriots, Steelers versus Lions, or Lions versus Bears?
Lions versus Bears.
That is correct. Question number 2. Who was a part of a big trade on the NBL Network series building the franchise Detroit Lions? PJ Houston, Zach Mills, or Kenny Galladay?
Kenny Galladay.
That is correct.
All right, ask the real questions now.
Question number 3. What team was Porter last Madden cycle? The Patriots, the Broncos, or the Chiefs?
The Broncos.
That is correct. He's 3 for 3. Maybe my questions aren't as tough as I thought.
Stop underhanding the ball.
That was my division.
Well, that's why we asked it. Smart Alec. I don't even know what that means. I know what a smart Alec is.
Jacko, what is a smart Alec? That's from your era. Along with Whippersnapper and those bicycles with the one giant wheel and the 2 tiny ones in the back.
Player gonna come out of nowhere.
Question number 4. Who was the NBL Live Player of the Game for NBL Super Bowl 26? Was it Russell Wilson? Was it Richard Sherman? Or was it Bobby Wagner?
Richard Sherman.
That is correct. 4 for 4. Hop is showing that he some stuff. I'm sorry, I had a little hiccup in my voice there. Question number 5. What was the NBL Live Game of the Year for NBL Season 24? Bengals versus Ravens, Lions versus Packers, or Saints versus Patriots?
Yeah, I'm gonna ask Delvar.
All right, we have our first lifeline. He's going to ask Delvar. And this is the risky one. Delvar, are you ready for the question? Did you hear the question? Do you need to repeat it?
Are you awake? No.
Repeat it. Who was the NBL Live Game of the Year for Season 24? Bengals versus Ravens, Lions versus Redskins, or Saints versus Patriots? Delvar says Bengals versus Ravens. Hop, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna say Lions versus Redskins.
Lions versus Redskins, you're both wrong. Imagine that.
0 for 2. Come on, guys. Do you even watch NBL Live?
So Hop goes with Delvar. Delvar's wrong. Hop's wrong. We're missing. Well, you missed your first question here on question number 5, and the Ask Delvar lifeline goes out the door. At least the positive news for this is
You don't
have to worry about Delvar being wrong for you. Moving on.
That's positive.
All right, Hop. Question number 6. Who was voted the 5th best player on the NBL's top 25 players of Madden 17? Was it Tyron Smith, Leyland Alston, or Khalil Mack?
Leyland Alston.
That is incorrect. The man, number 5 on the list of top 25 players for Madden 17, I'm sorry, was Khalil Mack.
Come on,
man. Very good defender.
I'm personally
if you've never heard of him.
He's my player.
I am personally insulted.
Was that was your play? Hop,
Get out! No,
this
that's
is
2
terrible.
strikes. That's 2 strikes.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
We're calling
He didn't
it.
even go with his own player. Come on. Take
All
a
right,
hop back.
You've been unimpressive so far, but that's being nice.
That's your life. It's fine. You're used to it.
Question number 7. Who was the NBL MVP for season 11? Trent Redmond, Drew Brees, or Matthew Stafford?
50-50.
50-50. Another lifeline. I'm going to eliminate one of the options. I'm going to eliminate Drew Brees. Was it Trent Redmond or Matt Stafford?
Matt Stafford.
Oh! Wrong again, Hop. Oh, Hop. Come on. We just talked about Trent Redmond a couple days ago, man.
Come on.
Yeah, it was way back when.
That's the history of NBL, and that is why this show exists. You guys got to study. You got to get your information. We have tons of resources for you. You got that big red flashing X, and Hop is out of here. He has done the worst out of all of our contestants.
Yeah.
Hop gets an astounding 4 out of 7 questions.
Much like his love life, Hop was colossally disappointing, but not surprisingly disappointing because I think we all expected it.
Wow.
Also herpes.
Sonny says in the chat, if Lip is talking about Redmond, then that's the answer. And that is correct. You know how when you take those tests, they say that C is always the answer or something like that? If I'm talking about TFR, you know that the answer is TFR. So Hop,
Not to be confused with TFA. Totally different dude.
The exact opposite. Completely different. Horrible.
Hop, I'd say thanks for being on the show, but, you know.
Well, thanks for having me.
They were okay questions. You did all right.
You'll learn.
They asked Delvar right off the bat.
That was a bad move.
Crushed your momentum.
That was a bad
I tried to
movie.
give him an easy one. I'm thinking, okay, he's going to get this one. He's the producer.
Your strategy was to give Delvar an easy one?
No. Here's the better part. Was Hop goes, I gave it to him. It's an easy one. He's the producer. That implies that Delvar pays any attention to what he's doing. That's not true at all. Delvar mostly sleeps through broadcasts until I'm like, turn it off.
Well, Hop definitely gave us a good laugh, a good attempt at the 3-and-out challenge. OSU, you survive another week at number 1.
Thank you. I'd like to thank my parents for calling me dumb as a baby.
You made it.
I'd like to thank Lip. Lip is he's my biggest he's my biggest idol. I want to be Lip when I grow up. I want that bush light.
I want a bush light too. I didn't expect you to say that. So yes, I'll admit I want that too. Now I'm going to pose you guys another question. We've gone over topics. We've done our 3-and-out show. I want to know if you guys want to continue the show and talk about some things that people in the chat. Delvar, do you have the crossfire graphic? I know I'm pulling this a surprise on you. If you don't have it, it's all right. Do you guys want to talk about some topics that the chat
always
provides? All right, guys, in the chat, throw out some topics. We'll either read them or maybe Delvar will pull them out.
Topic number 1 was that 3 straight X's from Draco. Yes, it was. That's highly debatable. That's not the right one. This is fun to watch.
Highly debatable. It's going to be an interesting show to watch.
It will be possibly the demise of the NBL network. I'm not going to lie. But it should be fun.
So I see an outpouring of questions in the chat.
Yeah, not everybody all at once. Jeez, oh man, slow down.
Maybe the chat wasn't interested in the crossfire section tonight.
Yeah, this chat. Okay, well, we got one.
We got one. Okay, our very own Timbo. Eric Greco. We'll get to that. Timbo asks, what's been the most surprising about NBL through the first season and a half of NBL Crossfire? I'm sorry. What's been the most surprising about the NBL through the first season and a half? Hashtag. NBL Crossfire. I'm old and can't read hashtags, so I'm sorry for that. But we got a Crossfire graphic
through
up.
the first season and a half. # NBL Crossfire.
Yes. Making phone calls on one of them rotary things.
Why?
I don't know. What's been the most surprising thing about NBL through the first season and a half? OSU, what do you got for me?
So I assume most surprising about the NBL through the first season and a half of this cycle, I think it's been a lot of it has been the changing of play styles. I think we saw in Madden 17 a wide open, you had to have a passing game, you had to have a vertical passing game, you really couldn't get by with a run game. And then we get into this season and a half, and really the running backs have been full focus, and we've seen a much more strategic chess match in the passing game. Gone are the days where it was all post routes down the middle that were the safeties didn't know how to play. Now it is more you got to use every route. You got to be more unpredictable, and I think that has really separated some of the guys who I think were able to detect on that one thing in Madden 17. We're seeing more and more of the better all-around players separate themselves from the pack, and I think that's been surprising.
Yeah, I think the running game has been the biggest surprise. They really changed that. And I know that's from my own experience last season. Last cycle, I thought that it might be worth it to let Le'Veon Bell walk and use that cap for other spaces this season. Or this cycle, I'm not letting the guy go ever. Running game is such an important thing. We've seen that with many teams. That's really the thing that's driving their entire offense and was a big surprise to me. Hop, you're here. Are you still here? Hop is not here. Hop is here. Hop asked,
fell asleep for a second.
Who's the most surprising owner this cycle? I don't know who the most surprising one is. I want to say Tot, but Tot always has that 500-ish range that to him that you want to know. You're surprised. You're not sure if he's surprising you or disappointing you. But Tot's ability to play in the AFC South with Sonny, Justin, and unisolated has been impressive to me. I want to see the kid make playoffs. I want to see him win some playoff games and do some good things with the Colts because that roster doesn't have a whole lot to it. OSU, what do you think about surprising owners this cycle?
I mean, there two names come to mind. I'll give you first on the good side. I am thoroughly impressed with Homer, mostly because. Boy, the Vikings last cycle in that NFC North, I mean, the Vikings got lost at times, but comes over to the AFC East, goes 8-8 last year, he's 4-3 this year. I think he's shown a lot, plays a lot of close games. I've been pleasantly surprised by Homer, and I think on the other side, disappointingly surprised. It's a little bit of a stretch because we're talking about the cycle, but I'll bring him up for the fourth time. Star in the Cleveland Browns. A lot of hype coming in, but that playoff loss really ruined him. And at 3-4 this year, I think it's been really disappointing for a team that I thought with all the draft picks they'd be really good this year.
Yeah, and the thing is that you hit it right. That playoff game totally changed. He has not been. I don't even think he's been around since then.
Right.
He's just completely fallen off. I don't know if he's got some issues going on with whenever he turns on Madden, there's just some
PTSD.
fear or something. Yeah,
it's PTSD.
It's confusing to me because I know that not Hop. I know Star is a good player defensively and running the ball. So whenever he learns how to pass, he'll be a much better player. So I'm excited to watch that growth. I talk about that because I'm in his division. I'll see it 2 times a year, hopefully 3 times if we play in the playoffs. But I'm going to wrap up the show there. NBL Crossfire got some questions in. Answered a few questions, answered a few confusing things about Tot, in my opinion. I want to thank you guys for coming on the show. Hop, thanks for coming on and participating in 3 and Out. I really enjoy that show because I really love the history of NBL, and I like to see what everybody else, all of our owners, know about the league. So I'd like to thank Hop for coming on and our network director, OSU, for coming on the show, filling in for Bomber this week, and of course Delvar pulling on the strings, dealing with me being all confusing and whatnot. I don't know what a hashtag # is, but I'd like to thank you guys for coming on the show this week, and thank you.